This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2 of Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. We're live at downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Lots to get to this hour. We'll have best bets leading into the Thanksgiving holiday at the end of the hour, as well as the futures plays that we are most thankful for this holiday season. Coming up in about 30 minutes as well, Jonathan Davis, our VSiN NHL betting analyst, going to break down what is a lengthy 15-game slate on the ice tonight, and a certain Vegas Golden Knights star back on the ice today.
Wow.
And we'll tell you how he's playing that game and a whole lot more a little bit later on. But I did want to carry over a little bit of our conversation from last segment as we were diving into the NBA slate today. 9 games on deck, including an ESPN triple header that will be capped tonight with the Golden State Warriors hosting the Houston Rockets. Golden State a short favorite in that one. What did you like?
I laid it with Golden State. This is really just a play on the injury report here. Golden State, let's see, taking on Houston, that will be without Steven Adams, without Kevin Durant, without Tari Eason, and Dorian Finney-Smith hasn't played. So good injury report for Golden State outside of Jonathan Kuminga. Draymond Green's going to be available here. But without the ability to play your Twin Towers, it caused such a problem for Golden State when they played in the postseason. Coupled without Kevin Durant, who has been a very big generator for them in their half-court offense. I do think Golden State back at home here can get this done as a short favorite. So did play GSW at home in this spot against Houston.
And then last one here, anything with the San Antonio Spurs and Portland Trailblazers? Like, speaking of the Golden State Warriors, Portland beat them not too long ago. They've won 2 of their last 3, taking on a Spurs team that had been playing pretty well since mid-November. What do you see here?
Yeah, I played a little bit of the Spurs. We'll see. I just thought the number was a little strong for Portland. I think San Antonio might go off as a small favorite here potentially. We've got 1.5 in favor of Portland. The big thing, and I have not checked to see if there's been any shoot-around reports, is whether or not Dylan Harper is going to be available today. Sounds like he's trending toward coming back. He's officially questionable to play. So if Harper comes back, a little bit of life, right? The heartbeat starts to pick up a little bit for the Rookie of the Year tickets that we've got. But more importantly, I think San Antonio just gets better with a little bit of a stronger presence in their backcourt. So let's go. No Stephon Castle, does hurt, but give me Harper out there, and I think the Spurs got a better shot against Portland.
Are you surprised how well the San Antonio has played without Wemby?
I mean, I think to an extent, when it comes to what they've been able to do and kind of tread water without him, I would say, outside of the Hawks' victory and some other opponents, among their victories have been, Grizzlies, Kings. So I'm not writing home about it, but here's the thing, to your overall point, you're treading water and you're maintaining. If you were going to slip all the way down the standings, that was going to be pretty damaging. But the fact that they're able to play like 500 basketball without him, I think is a very good thing for this team, considering what could have happened with them moving forward without him.
Anything else in the association you want to hit on before we move on?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm very much looking forward to tonight. Should be fun. Can't wait to see the Heat, who I did add to win the Eastern Conference.
You did, officially.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday about potentially doing it, but did throw in there at 17-1. So let's go Heat.
Okay, about it. I just need them to make the playoffs, and so that'll work out for both of us. Let's get into the NFL, because obviously we will be kicking off Week 13 tomorrow with the triple header that we've got going on. It'll carry over into Black Friday and then an exciting Sunday slate as well. And with that, we're getting a little bit of an early look at your weekly market power ratings. Usually do this on Fridays when I'm gone, but let's do the exercise today with so many games that are going to be early.
Look at it, Stormy. It's glorious. We talked about it.
In all its glory.
The top-rated team in the National Football League now. I think it's no doubt about it. The Los Angeles Rams check in as our top-rated team now this week, according to the betting market. I don't really think there's any question. Again, simple math here. They're laying 10.5 on the road against the Carolina Panthers. We use 1.5 as home field. That would dictate about a 12-point difference between them and the Panthers, who check in there on the 74 line, right about where they were last week. Carolina was. So Rams, top spot in the NFL, not in the NFC, and probably about a point better than both the Chiefs and the Eagles on a neutral, and I would think that that's pretty fair, wouldn't you?
I would. My one question is, does it surprise you to see the Seahawks a point worse than the Chiefs and the Eagles as well? Because I kind of view the Seahawks on that line more, if not higher.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. So when it comes to putting them on those lines, I mean, that is something a little bit as on my discretion is looking at future lines and where they're at, where they would be. The reason why I keep Seattle there at the 74, or excuse me, the 84 line is it pretty much maintains the difference of where we were at 2 weeks ago when they played the Los Angeles Rams, where that was floating around a 3-point spread, 3.5 in some spots. So you get that difference, and there you go. You're still that distance between LA and yourself. So that's why I put it there. But I think you look. I mean, if you're somebody that thinks Seahawks should be higher, then I think that you're somebody who's probably playing on them in certain instances too. They're also Seattle, if we're going to focus on them, playing a team like Minnesota, where if we want to throw this up one more time, sorry crew, but the Minnesota Vikings are a team that find themselves at the lowest point that we've seen so far right now, in that they're all the way down to the 75 line. So we also have to couple those things together. So if I move Seattle up, I have to move the Vikings up because they're playing the Minnesota Vikings this week. And I don't think that it would jive with putting the Vikings on that 76 line. Just a point behind the Giants equals with the Cardinals and the Dolphins. In fact, I think you can make the case, given what we know about Minnesota, that they deserve to be a little bit lower. And since I put these together last night, we've seen this kind of move a little bit too. The market would agree. And this is now out to what are we talking here? What do I have in front of me? 12.5 at some spots, including where we sit right now for Seattle. That would be about an 11-point difference as opposed to just a 9 and 9.5 point difference. So I think that's why they're there. Again, it's a couplet. They're playing each other. So if one moves for this exercise, you got to move the other. And I felt like Minnesota was kind of dragging them down.
Yeah, and maybe that is something that I failed to explain as we started this segment. For people, JVT, that don't join you on Fridays or haven't seen this, can you explain, these numbers are not your numbers. You didn't build this out yourself.
Yeah, these are paired to the betting market as we look at it right now. And when I say these teams are couplets, they're tied to each other because they're playing one another. We're deriving the power rating from where the betting market's at right now. Case in point, let's go to Houston and Indianapolis. This is always the easy one. Indianapolis is a 4.5-point favorite at home. Again, I think home field is worth 1.5, so that would mean on a neutral. Indianapolis is a 3 points better than Houston. Well, we have Indianapolis on the 83 line. Simple math. 80 minus 3 is
there you go.
80. So we have Houston on the 80 line. Now, the interesting part about this game is, as you see right here, I have Stroud question mark next to the Houston Texans. When we do this on Fridays, we get a general sense of who's available and who's not. We're doing it pretty early in the week, so we don't really know yet for some of these availabilities. You see a couple of these quarterbacks that are listed with some question marks next to them. Dart, when I put this together early this morning, we didn't get the news. We actually did just get it about an hour ago. Dart will start for the New York Giants, or at least was back at practice. Same thing with Stroud, Bridgewater. We don't know the status of these guys officially yet. And so I put question marks next to them because the question is the market right now rating this team with Bridgewater as the starting quarterback, with Stroud as the starting quarterback? And there becomes a little bit more noise with some of the teams that have some quarterback questions, as we all have during the week.
Yeah, and let's go to the Steelers there, as you have Rodgers in parentheses as well. Mike Tomlin did say he has, quote, great optimism that Aaron Rodgers will be back this Sunday against the Bills. Quote, I'm comfortable with his general trajectory. He missed last week, of course, with the fractured left wrist, although he was pushing to play with that device on, trying to see if he could make something happen. Doctors held him back, but this week it looks like he should be good to go. They're getting 3.5 against Buffalo.
Yeah, and so there you go right there, right? There's a 5-point difference then if you do the math between those two. Buffalo on our 73 or excuse me, our 83 line, Steelers check in at our 78 line. So at this point right now, there's not really, I think, any large discrepancies in terms of teams that stick out with where they should or should not be. But I will say one thing that I think is going to be pretty interesting for some of those. So let's take a look at the Saints, for example, if you would humor me for just a moment. The Saints, right there at about 71.5, just ahead of the Jets, who are our lowest power-rated team for this week. For those who don't remember, the Browns with Shedeur Sanders and the Titans were our two lowest-rated teams last year. They were a 69, but because last week. But because of the Titans' run against the spread, the Browns' big win over the Raiders, you get improvement for both of those teams. They jump up the ratings. But if you look at a couple of these, what's going to be interesting for a few of these teams as we're looking at them, for example, the Saints. Last week, the Saints, Stormy, because we talked about them and the Falcons and that dynamic, whether or not they were going to be equals to one another. The market would have them at about the 74 line with Atlanta. Now, all of a sudden, they're just a half-point better than our lowest-rated team in the National Football League, which is the Jets. It speaks to what I've talked about this whole time, which is this, you shouldn't be fluctuating this much with some of the power ratings. And so it leads me to, again, be tempted to maybe back the Saints a week after thinking, maybe they're a little too high. Now this week, I think the market's having some trouble on where they want to put them, and it leads me to maybe being tempted to play against Miami here in the spot against New Orleans.
Well, and it seems like to me, a team like the Saints, where we had such a limited sample size of what Tyler Shuck
Sure.
is, probably would lead to more of that volatility like we see week to week when a quarterback is unavailable and it's a backup that we haven't seen much of. There were a lot of questions last week about what Shedeur Sanders was going to be for the Cleveland Browns, and obviously their rating has changed after what they did to the Raiders, even though it was just the Raiders.
Yep.
So I think that's a part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it too. Like you said, we're trying to figure out what the Browns are. The Browns are an interesting case study. I mean, last week they were on that 69 line, as we mentioned. Now you said, like, look at them. They're all the way up to 73. I think that's probably a fairer place to put them, don't you? I mean, part of this is the team. It's not just the quarterback. So as I pointed out to you when we talked about this on Sunday, that's a good defense. They have the best defensive player in the National Football League. I think they're deserving of more than just being the lowest rated team in the National Football League. And after last week, we seemingly get that adjustment. They take on your San Francisco 49ers, 5.5 on the road. That would equate to about a 7-point difference between these two. And it makes a little bit more sense because, again, too, right, we have to factor in your team. They're bound together in this exercise because they're playing one another. Are we going to put the 49ers – if you think, like you, for example, do you think the 49ers, just for this experiment, are like equals to the Broncos? If you were to say yes,
No.
Right, but if you were to say yes, then we have to put the Broncos, or excuse me, the 49ers, up on the 82 line.
Yeah.
That would mean that we had to bump the Browns all the way up to 75, a week after they were sitting down there at 69. So it makes a little bit more sense to price them where they're at here when you're looking at the way the betting market evaluates them.
And yet, looking at DraftKings right now, the 49ers are just 4.5-point favorites. So the market is believing that the Browns are better. Or that Brock
Your
Purdy
team's
is
worse.
bad.
Yes. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
that could be. That really is part of it. You're evaluating both of these teams, so that could be part of it. It could just be that, hey, maybe there is a thought that the 49ers just really aren't that good. The other interesting part about this in the last 20 seconds, if I just point out, we throw this up one more time. Again, the growing valley between the best teams and the mid-tier teams. 82 line for the Broncos and the Packers. Cowboys, 49ers, Chargers, Jaguars, Texans, all at about 80. So there's about a 2-point gap between the haves and the have-nots right now.
Okay, good stuff. We're going to step aside when we come back. Headed out to the ice, Jonathan Davis, our VSiN NHL betting expert, is going to tell us what we should do with the Golden Knights and the rest of the 15-game slate coming up tonight.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And if you're not a VSiN Pro subscriber yet, your best chance is right now. Our Black Friday special is live, and for just $60, you get full VSiN Pro access to everything we offer all the way through May 1st. That gives you daily best bets from our VSiN show hosts and guests, real-time betting splits from DraftKings, Circa, and Brocco, AI-powered prop tools, and weekly wide receiver corner matchup edges, 24/7 video and replays on the VSiN Watch app, plus so much more. We've got coverage through every major sport going all the way through the spring, from football and hoops. March Madness will be here before you know it. The NFL Draft, the Masters. We are in full swing of hockey season as well. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. Our biggest new subscriber offer of the year is here. And speaking of a little stick and puck as we welcome you back to the program, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Jonathan Davis joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, our VSiN NHL betting analyst. You can also catch him on SiriusXM NHL Radio, hosts Ice Cap, and we've got a ton of action on the ice today, Jonathan, 15 games on deck. And selfishly, I got to ask you about the VGK first, because considering it is a holiday week, Vegas Golden Knights fans certainly have something to be thankful for, with El Capitan Mark Stone back on the ice this morning at morning skate. How big of a difference will that make for Vegas, not only today, but moving forward?
Well, I think the biggest difference will be on the power play, because that's where, Vegas was absolutely deadly with Stone in and not as effective when Stone was injured. And so tonight he returns back he'll be playing alongside Mitch Marner on the top line, and he'll play top power play. So for me, DraftKings offers a prop where you can bet just over a half a power play goal. I think it's about -120 tonight. The Ottawa Senators have the 31st ranked power play and dead last at 32nd on the road. I like the Golden Knights' chances to score with the extra man tonight.
All right, let's talk a little bit of Winnipeg, Washington here. And notice that some spots saw this kind of peak at 156. We're starting to see some buyback on the underdog. But what do you make of the Capitals' chances here as a pretty decent favorite at home?
Well, I like Washington tonight. I mean, look, Winnipeg's going with Eric Comrie tonight because Connor Hellebuck's done for the next 4 to 6 weeks. The Jets have lost both games with Comrie since the injury. It's his first time ever playing the Capitals in his career. And, prior to their win last year, the Jets in Washington, they lost 11 straight in the nation's capital. So I like where Washington's at. They're going with Charlie Lindgren tonight. His numbers for this year are not great, but his numbers against the Jets, 3-1 with a 1.59 goals against average. And look, Washington, 8 of their last 9 wins. They've covered the puck line. I like Washington at minus 1.5 goals. The Jets, 4 of their last 6 losses have been by at least 2 goals.
I got 2 questions for you about the Minnesota Wild, and I want to start big picture before we look at the matchup tonight against Chicago. They had such a brutal start, Jonathan. 3-6-3 to start the year. It looked ugly. And I don't know what has gotten into them since November 1st, but they've been a different team. They've only lost 2 games in that time. They're riding a 5-game win streak. Is this version of the Wild that we've seen lately for real?
Well, I mean, it's a lot closer to the version of the Wild that we saw last year before Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek went down. Something happened after a game that they played at Madison Square Garden in New York where their coach basically called them a club and not a team. And something has clicked in. They're getting excellent goaltending, whether it's Philip Gustafsson or Jesper Wallstedt. They've only given up, 9 goals in their last 8 games. I mean, that's pretty daunting for the opposition. So if you're going to continue to get that type of goaltending, they're not deep offensively. They're pretty much carried by their top 2 lines. But if you get goaltending that only gives up, just over a goal a game, well, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. Jonathan Davis, our VSiN NHL betting analyst, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Minnesota's a minus 135 road favorite today against Chicago. Total in this one sitting 5.5. And I mentioned the 5-game win streak for Minnesota. There is another streak that you are hoping to see the Wild cash in on tonight. What can you tell us about it?
They've scored the first goal in 12 consecutive games. And so why buck that trend? And Matt Boldy has scored the first goal for the Wild. He scored the first goal for the Wild 4 times. He's got a goal in 6 of the last 9 games, so he'll be another guy that I target. But they've held Chicago to a goal or less in their last 5 meetings, so I think their chances of making it lucky 13 tonight, scoring the first goal of the game, are pretty darn good.
All right, what about Anaheim at home tonight against Vancouver? Right now we're looking at the market, $1.48. Total is 6.5, shaded to the over pretty heavily there. Do you like something here, whether it's Anaheim or for the game?
Yeah, I like the team total. The Canucks are going with their, 3rd or 4th string goalie, whatever you want to call it. Thatcher Demko has been out for a while. Kevin Lankinen, who had taken over the number 1 role, didn't even make the trip. I think if you play Anaheim team total over 3.5 tonight at about minus 120, you got a good chance. I mean, look, the Ducks have scored 4 goals or more in 12 of their 14 wins. I'd like them to win tonight. I know, past history tells you Vancouver's the play, but Anaheim's a far different team now than they've been in years past. I mean, they're on pace right now for over, I think it's close to 110 points. They finished with 80 last year.
Let's stay out west. The Colorado Avalanche have been on an absolute heater, and the price today tells you as much. A near $4 favorite in this one, hosting the San Jose Sharks. Total sitting 6.5. When you do have such a big favorite like this, you have to get a little bit creative, I'm sure, playing these games. What's your angle on that one tonight?
Yeah, so this has even hit over $4 in a lot of spots. And a trend that we went with last year, 19 of the 24 games where you had a favorite minus $4 or more, the underdog scored a goal in the first period 19 times. So we're going to go with San Jose to score a goal in the first period at minus 110.
All right, I like it. What about we haven't hit the top one yet, have we? Boston and New York. Islanders taking on the Bruins. They're about a $1.60 favorite. We're seeing some money come in on Boston. Total is 6 with some 5.5s out there. What do you make of this one?
Well, I mean, it makes sense, that the money's coming in on Boston. I mean, the Bruins have they've won both meetings with the Islanders this year. I don't think it's a great spot for Boston, who was out west and now completes their road trip, back east against the Islanders. The over has been the history in this series. I would lean to it, but I'm going to go with my man Morgan Geekie of the Boston Bruins. He is tied for the league lead with 17 goals, and we've been riding the Geekie first goal trend. Not first goal of the game, but the first Bruins goal. He's done it in each of the last 3 games. He has got 6 goals in his last 3 games. And he scored? So he scored the first Bruins goal, 3 straight, 5 of 6, and 6 of the last 8 on the road. I did ask Geekie about this trend that he's been on when Boston was in LA, and I asked him and his coach. Neither of them had a clue that he had this first goal prowess. But Stormy, this trend here with Geekie in the first goal kind of reminds me of your old producer Stephanie, or former producer. I don't want to say old, but she was the one that came up with that first touchdown column on the site. And so I've been leaning a lot on this first goal of the game.
No doubt about it. Yes, the first touchdown tracker in the NFL has been great. And maybe I'm not going to try to add extra work to your plate, but we might have to get a first goal tracker going on some guys for you. We'll just get it going. If you're recognizing the trend, we got to find it.
I've tracked every team and their first goal, first home goal, and first away goal. I've got those numbers.
Dang, look at you, dude. Okay, let's get to one more game, because I would be remiss if I did not ask you about the Carolina Hurricanes, to the man who sits in front of us wearing a bunch of jerks shirt. They are hosting your New York Rangers, a team that I know you are invested in from a futures market standpoint. What'd you make of this one? They're a pretty big favorite hosting New York.
Yeah, why did you have to bring up that I invested in the Rangers, who are just, not that I think that's a wasted ticket. But look, I'm going to look here at the over 6 in this one, and I would even look at the Rangers team total at over 2.5. Freddie Anderson, I can't trust for Carolina. He's actually given up 3 goals or more in 5 of his last 6 home starts. So, goals have been the trend in this matchup. I don't think Carolina loses 2 in a row, but I just can't trust Freddie Anderson. So for me, I played the over, and I played Rangers team total over 2.5. And I could even see playing both team totals, but that's the way right now that I've approached it.
JD, New York's just such a weird team, because we were raving about how good they were on the road. They had the struggles at MSG, and now they're finally winning home games and struggling on the road. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, they've lost 3 straight on the road. They're a hard team to figure out. It's kind of like Los Angeles, the LA Kings, who can't win at home. They've won only 2 of 8 or 9 games. And they're killing it on the road. It's what's up is down, and what's down is up, Stormy.
Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thanks, dude.
And rumor has it JD might be making a trip to Vegas next week as well. Check him out if you haven't already on SiriusXM NHL Radio, hosting Ice Cap. Also up at VSiN.com each and every day, breaking down the regular slates, updating you on futures as he goes, and first goal tracking data. I didn't even know about this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
West Coast bias time as we welcome you back to Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network, SiriusXM channel 158, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, wherever you're watching or listening. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Going to give a little bit of love to the West Coast, Best Coast football slate that we've got coming up this week, as I mentioned earlier on the show. If we don't do it, who will? Okay? We got to give the little guy some love here. And we've got some marquee, important games with conference championship implications coming up, most notably in the Mountain West, which is a conference that's near and dear to our heart. My San Diego State Aztecs visiting New Mexico in Albuquerque, taking on the Lobos. And New Mexico's been getting some play here, JVT. This is a massive game for the Mountain West Conference Championship race.
I got a text last night, and the text read, "Am I crazy for liking New Mexico?" To which my response was, "Nope, because I like them too." So let's go, Lobos, see if you can get it done. Now, tiebreakers here. This is what matters. Your Aztecs, 6-1 in conference play. Simple. If San Diego State is 7-1, they host the championship game. So win, and you host.
And you get Snapdragon to be the locale.
What do we call it? We call it the snap.
We call it the snap. It's not catching on. Stop trying to make fetch happen.
It's going to happen, trust me. If San Diego, so trust me, by the way, just really quickly, one day in your life, it might not be today, might not be tomorrow, it might be years down the road. One day, someone's going to call it the snap, and you're going to be like, holy smokes,
if that someone is and will only be you. No, but go on.
Anyway, so San Diego State and Boise State win in Week 14. Boise State plays at San Diego State for the championship. If Boise State and UNLV are 6-2, Boise State has head-to-head over UNLV. If Boise State is 6-2, and this is all under the assumption that San Diego State is winning this game, by the way, folks. So again, we're assuming that in this scenario that I'm reading off to you, San Diego State is 7-1. If Boise State is 6-2, UNLV loses at Nevada. Boise State in the championship game. So a lot of clear paths for Boise State to make it into play the Aztecs should San Diego State win this game. If UNLV is 6-2, Boise State loses at Utah State, then UNLV will head to the snap to take on San Diego State.
Stop it.
So, in other words, San Diego State wins. Most likely, Boise State, again, if they win. After that, UNLV. So those are two of the likely opponents there, the opponents for San Diego State, depending on what shakes out. The 6-2 scenarios, this is where it gets a little complicated. So if San Diego State loses, if New Mexico and San Diego State are both 6-2, they will rematch back in Albuquerque. So that's pretty simple. New Mexico wins. It's a rematch back in Albuquerque if that's the case. If New Mexico, San Diego State, and UNLV are all 6-2, New Mexico will host the game, and the metrics decide who will get to go between San Diego State and UNLV. So it goes to the computers if that's the case. I could continue on because it also gets down to 5-3, in which if there's a bunch of 5-3 teams and all these other teams right now that are sitting at 2 losses end up taking losses, San Diego State would host the championship game, and that would mean that Boise State, Fresno State, Hawaii, New Mexico, UNLV, and Utah State, all at 5-3, have a shot to make it in.
Yeah, you can't even bet some of those teams right now. Like, there's only 4 teams that are available on the board to bet to win the Mountain West Conference.
Now, this tiebreaker scenario on the Mountain West website does have some, like, I think they have, like, some of these playing out where, you know, I think they can kind of project who would be and who wouldn't. But either way, the simplest scenario here is that if New Mexico and San Diego State are both 6-2, San Diego State will take on New Mexico and Albuquerque, or if San Diego State wins, it's going to be one of Boise State or UNLV.
Okay. San Diego State is your favorite to win.
They're going to lose.
Plus 150 favorites to win it all. UNLV plus 250, New Mexico plus 285, Boise State at 4-1.
Don't you think?
So if you like New Mexico to win this game,
okay, sorry,
and potentially host the Mountain West Conference Championship game, plus 285 for New Mexico to win the league. How do you feel about that?
I would feel pretty. I mean, look, you're either taking on Boise State, which has been a shell of itself with the injuries, or UNLV, who you already beat, potentially. So, or San Diego State, who in this situation you beat as well. So, I think New Mexico's pretty live here to get.
That's kind of well, and I'm just thinking like both are short spreads, even with them as an underdog. In this game, it's even money. Plus 285 seems like a pretty reasonable price if you did believe in them to that extent. That said, I think San Diego State wins.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I know you think your Aztecs win, even though every time we talk about them, you disparage them. Do you think
well, they're not overlooking New Mexico.
No. I was going to say, do you think that San Diego State is actually this much better than New Mexico? Don't you think these two teams are equals to each other?
I do. I think they're very even. That's why if I were to play this, it would be money line.
I feel like this should be whatever you're going to make. I don't know. Maybe you're not giving anything for home field for Albuquerque because I could understand that. And maybe that's exactly what the market's doing here. I don't know. I thought this should have been like pick New Mexico -1.
Really? Oh, you thought that much?
Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, again, I don't think you're giving New Mexico home field. I just think these two teams are equals to each other. I don't think there's that much separating them.
I don't know. I think San Diego State's probably rightfully favored. When they were 3-point favorites, I didn't understand it. I think 1.5 is very appropriate. And that's why I just think the money line play would be the safer bet on either side.
We need a button. A show bet button. Because here we go. I think we should make this official. I'll take New Mexico here. Come on now.
SDSU, by the way.
Put it on the list?
In addition to being 9-2 straight up, 9-2 against the spread.
Yeah, put it on the list?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
Officially official.
I got it, Doc. Let's do this thing.
Officially official. This will be a very good, fun, closely contested game. Two really good run defenses going head-to-head. Two teams that I think also have greatly exceeded expectations. San Diego State was a 3-win team a year ago. New Mexico, you lose your head coach who was making all of those great improvements. You lose Devin Dampier and your coordinator. You're wondering what this is going to be. And then Jason Eck comes up and does this job. It's been, for a league that has had a down year, Those two teams, I think, have been very pleasant surprises along the way, especially considering how much expectation there was on both UNLV and Boise State for these two teams to be in the position they're in. I think is pretty cool. How about Boise State, though? They're at Utah State. Anything that you liked in that game?
It's obviously pretty important because Boise State can still make it in, as we just discussed, as can Utah State. I guess potentially if everybody's 5-3. I don't know, man. I've had a lot of trouble kind of gauging what Boise State potentially is since everything's gone on with Maddox Madsen and the games that we have seen since he's been injured. I think that Utah State has been a little overvalued, especially toward the tail end of the season. And I think that Boise State is going to try to play the game where, Maddox Madsen might play in this game. They've called it a long shot that he's going to play, but still keeping open the door whether or not he's going to be available. I'm assuming that he's not going to be out there. And I think that Utah State can come in here. One of the big matchups that's going to stick out. Boise State, very quietly from defending the run, has been a pretty inefficient defense. They're 111th in the country, and opponent expected points added per rush. Utah has been a top 50 rushing offense. They can run the ball. So I think that Utah State can be somewhat live to stay inside of the key number of 3. I think the real question is your own run defense for Utah State and your defense as a whole, which has not been good. 123rd against the run, 119th on early downs, but 57th on 3rd and 4th down, which to me is unsustainable. Are you going to be able to really rely on winning that key down on 3rd down while also masking what has been one of the worst run defenses in the country? I think you get a higher scoring game. I'm obviously not going down the limits, 55.5, but I lean toward Utah State staying inside of 3. I think that the Aggies deserve a little bit more respect at home. And you see the ATS record. I mean, the 2 spread losses have come a little bit later in the season, but Utah State has been a pretty undervalued team for the most part.
The game of the week out west, no question about it. Oregon at Washington this week. 6.5 your spread in favor of the Ducks on the road. We have seen our first 7 pop at DraftKings where you're getting the full 7 there. This is a Washington team that's pretty talented and I think worth noting getting healthier as well. Jed Fish on the podium earlier this week said their stud running back Jonah Coleman and wide receiver Denzel Boston both going to play a substantial amount, which is good for a couple guys that have been banged up. The challenge with Oregon, though, is going to be that defensive line on the other side. And for those of you who maybe haven't watched a ton of Washington football this year, the games with which they have struggled are the games where they play good defensive fronts. And you look at the loss that they had to Ohio State, only put up 6 points. Against Michigan, only had 7. Against even Wisconsin, who say what you want about the Wisconsin Badgers, and they are a bad team, they are built a little bit more up front, particularly on the defensive line. Only scored 10 points in that game. So that is going to be a battle worth watching against against Oregon. But the Huskies are at home and have looked like a really good team. So how do you see it? Because they've got some advantages of their own in this matchup, too.
I think the easy thing would be to say letdown for Oregon, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, you get a big win against USC, sure, but your playoff life is still on the line. I don't think you're safe by any stretch that they're not going to be out there. But I keep going back to this. Washington, their metrics, especially on defense against the pass, have been really, really average. I mean, across the board, you look at either success rate, EPA per play through the air. We're talking in the range of 67th to 81st on key metrics. That's a pretty average group that I don't think you're really going to be able to come in here and slow down Oregon's offense either, on top of your inability to handle some of those strong fronts that you're talking about.
My one thing that I would say to argue that is because Oregon, they are struggling with some of their health of their offensive line. Their starting center just got injured. We know they're down a couple of their top wide receivers as well. And the run game has kind of been their bread and butter, but that's actually something Washington's defense is really good at defending. Like they've been a top 20 run stopping unit this season. I
can understand taking 7, but I think we're also learning a little bit as we see with the market all the time. There hasn't been a crazy rush to grab that 7 because there's still plenty available.
How would a loss, Oregon's out if they lose?
Gotta be, right?
I think. A reminder, everybody, if you are a VSiN Pro subscriber, you get access to everything we have each and every day up at VSiN.com, which includes now our AI player prop projections in the NFL and the NBA. VSiN.com/subscribe is how you can come join us and check out those new metrics.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Official horse racing partner of VSiN. First Bet is built for bettors who demand more. First Bet isn't just about placing a bet. It's about helping bettors of all levels with proprietary AI handicapping tools that give you data-driven insights to help you make more informed bets. First Bet's in-app tools give you win, place, and show probabilities for each runner, so you can quickly and easily identify good value plays and improve that ROI. Right now, you can take advantage of the limited-time $250 sign-up offer, but to claim your bonus, you need to use our promo code VSIN250. That's VSIN250 when you sign up in the First Bet app or at firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Promo code VSIN250. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. This show's gone by fast as we welcome you back to Money Moves as we wrap things up here. Got best bets coming at you in a moment. Wanted to continue, though, talking about some of these West Coast, Best Coast games as West Coast bias rolls on, because we only got to a couple games because we were talking so much about the Mountain West Championship tiebreakers and indicators, and that is a crazy thing about this week, by the way. All of the tiebreaker scenarios, I know we did that for the ACC the other day and the Big 12, like very chaotic weekend potentially for who's going to play each other next week.
Yeah, for once usually we go through all these tiebreakers and then we get to the end of the weekend, you're like, oh, just everything.
Just the top, teams that needed to win did, and okay.
Yeah. I'm hoping at one point, the Mountain West a couple of years ago, if you remember, did have the chaos with the computers where despite the fact that San Jose State had, if I remember correctly, gone into UNLV at Allegiant and beat them, the computer spit out that UNLV should have been was in the Mountain West Championship game. And so they got in over San Jose State. So every once in a while you get it. But I do hope, I'll let you guess what the result was. But I do hope that we do get a little bit of chaos this week. And I know they're your boys, but I just think it would be really funny if we got to the end and all of this hubbub over whether or not Notre Dame and Michigan Miami should both be in, and the head-to-head and all those sort of things. And not only do they both get left out, but wouldn't it be hilarious on the final ranking, they flip them. And so it's like, we can finally compare head-to-head. By the way, they're both out. Well, that's not going to happen, but still it would be hilarious.
And because they say all the time, like, well, we start from scratch every time we rank these teams. Right. And it's not going to happen that way. But I am very curious to see how things play out this weekend and conference championship weekend, and if Notre Dame ends up being on the outside looking in, especially after we broke down all of that from the Alabama side of it. Because if Alabama plays in and loses the SEC title game, they're in still. You have to. There's no way the committee holds them out.
Even though if it's 3-loss team.
I don't know how many times that we can say some of the things we have, like the precedent that would set would just... It would create this whirlwind of bad stuff moving forward that you just can't have. So
whirlwind of chaos, yeah.
So, yeah, that's why we keep calling them chaos candidates. It's very interesting. But you do mention Notre Dame, and that is the game that I will be on the sideline for coming up in the Bay Area on Saturday night, late night. First time that Notre Dame has played with a game kicking off at or after 10 o'clock Eastern since I was the young age of 10.
I just realized.
What's that?
Yeah, you got Notre Dame Stanford. Man, I'm going to tell you this right now. You know what I'm going to do here, aren't you?
No. What is happening?
Earlier this year, you got to breathe the same air as Devin Dampier. And now you're going to breathe the same air as Andrew Luck. Come on now. Come on. If I were to list my football heroes, it would not be in that order, but Andrew Luck would definitely be on the list.
Something tells me I'm not going to get a Kendra Douglas sideline interview moment.
For those who didn't see it,
so cool.
Yes, it was very cool. Was it a fumble return for a touchdown while he was doing a sideline interview? I'm jealous.
Some balls out.
Yep. I also very expertly, this was actually, and I'm sure maybe you, because you're very keen on these sort of things, Andrew Luck using that as an opportunity to tell her.
To end the interview.
Thanks, see you later.
So good.
Walk off. I caught it. Very good. But yeah, congratulations.
Probably learned that from Jim.
That's right.
That's Harbaugh's favorite move. So there you go.
Congrats on breathing the same air as Andrew Luck.
With that in mind, though, 32.5 is a pretty big spread. Mm-hmm. But we were kind of talking in the commercial break, and I think I come at this game from a lens of wishful thinking that I get at least a competitive game for a little while in this one. But I think Stanford's better than people have necessarily given them credit for. You made the point, though. Did they do enough last week? Winning big game against Cal the way that they did, was that their Super Bowl, and now they're just hoping not to get completely wrecked?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that was the season, wasn't it?
And a Notre Dame team that, as we've talked about with their profile, is trying to rack up as many style points as they can.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going. I don't think they're going into team meetings like, we got big game, guys. We're good. But there's some sort of mental aspect of, you kind of have your checklist of realistic opportunities, and I think that's probably one of them, which is, hey, we won the big rivalry spot. Then the letdown of taking out a Notre Dame team that desperately needs to prove, I think, every single week we are way better than everybody else and blow them out. I kind of liken it. Like, this is kind of maybe a stretch. You can tell me you're not. But Hawaii, Hawaii, I thought was a team that very much had on its resume or on its whiteboard, we need to win these home games. We can make it to a bowl. We can do these things. And some of the forays out to the mainland have been pretty tough for them, but they took care of the business that they needed to. Same thing here. One of the key goals, I think, for the year was probably beat Cal, and you did it. Now you have to take on Notre Dame. You've alluded to the slow starts for the Irish. You watched one in person. No, was that a slow start? Yeah, Boston College you can consider a slow start. Right, yeah. They pulled away late. But I don't think you can pull that off now. I think you need to every single time out, as we're talking about. I assume that on your radar somewhere is this chaos scenario where BYU wins the Big 12 and you might be on the outside looking in. You need to prove every single week that you are worthy of being one of these teams included in the playoff, and thus a beatdown is on the horizon for Stanford.
Yeah, the game I had, they were up 5 going into the halftime break and just missed a field goal because they had an opportunity to go up 8 and couldn't. And kicking has been an issue for them. Like, I don't think that's going to come into play against Stanford specifically as an issue here. But for the Irish, the reason that I was bringing up to you off of the air, the slow starts that they had, although I feel like that was all but blown out the window against Syracuse when they're up 21-0 last week without their offense even touching the ball yet, was because Stanford plays much better at home. All 4 of their wins have come at home. They're 4-1 at home this season. They have been competitive early in games. I look even to the game at Miami earlier this year when it was tied at 7 at halftime. Did they end up getting wrecked 42-7 after that? Yes, they did. But they are a team. I just wondered if, like, maybe first quarter angles or something like that, taking that many points with a dog could be intriguing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
We have breaking news. That's why I have this befuddled look on my face. Do you remember when Frank Ragnow retired? He's back.
What?
Yeah, Frank Ragnow is returning.
For the Lions?
For the Lions. Yes. This is according to Ian Rappaport. I was like, did he retire? Yeah. He's back.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of weird?
That's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. I don't mean to derail us, but I thought it was somewhat important news to mention that Frank Ragnow is coming back. And because I was reading a report, because I remember the look of befuddlement, because I went back and looked. Dan Campbell on November 4th, the quote, ship has sailed on Frank Ragnow coming out of retirement. And then Ian Rappaport tweets out 7 minutes ago or so, Lions offensive line just got a lot better. Frank Ragnow is returning.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, like, if you retired, I wonder how early on in the season he realized I actually hate this and I want to try to come back and make this work, because what kind of shape is he in?
I mean, nobody's ever going to tell the truth, but Rappaport sounds like he's in shape and ready to roll sooner rather than later. So, I mean, I don't think that.
That doesn't mean Thursday.
Yeah.
But.
I also don't think you're coming back like completely out of shape. Who knows how that would really work? But I mean, it's a pretty big deal, I guess, for the Lions. I don't think you want to freak out too much about that, but at the very least, that was one of the big deals for this team, which was, hey, man, coming into the year, what's it going to look like? Offensive line looks a lot different. Ragnow's gone, and now here we are. He's back. So congratulations.
That said, real quickly, going into tomorrow, you have a lot of bets you need to restate. I know we've given them out throughout the course of the show, but you want to close us out, close out the day?
You don't have anything? You didn't add anything, huh? Let's see. All right, I have mine if I could pull them up, or you can just throw them up because I can't remember what I have off the top of my head. I do know we have our 2 teasers. Cincinnati Bengals +7. Bengals money line as well. Put a little half unit on there. On top of 4 plays in the association, we have the Indiana Pacers, the Charlotte Hornets, the Golden State Warriors, and the San Antonio Spurs money line.
Okay.
That's what we got.
Oh, you have one more NFL play.
I do? I'm sorry. I accidentally closed out my notes. Oh, the Houston Texans. That's right. +4.5 against the Indianapolis Colts. I apologize. All over the place.
That surprises me a little bit.
I got so excited about the Frank Ragnow news. I closed out all my windows.
You're really down on Indy.
That's not true. I bet them last week.
Yeah?
Yeah, they covered.
And now
every week is a new week. I'm very consistent on this. Every week's a new week. Okay? You can't have loyalties in this game.
Is this just all based on Daniel Jones and the Texans defense?
Yeah, it's the number. I think it might be a little too high.
The Stroud of it all didn't matter for you? Because at least in my mind, thinking how you think, I feel like it was mostly defensive focused, not CJ Stroud focused.
Yes. I love this Texans defense a ton. And I do think that this is going to be a game that is going to be, as a divisional matchup, a little bit tighter. We've seen it before. We saw the Texans scuffle with the Titans. These divisional games get a little tight. So let's go Texans plus 4.5, Bengals plus 7, money line a little bit as well. And I listed everything else properly. Look at me. Look at me.
Well played, sir. That's a wrap for us today.
Every one of them.
Make sure you come back tomorrow, though. Live bet Thanksgiving, with JVT. We're done for the day, but follow the money coming up next. Going to continue to preview all of the action for Thanksgiving and beyond. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck with your bets.